Hi, good morning, Denise. How are you?
Sorry about all that.
That's all right.
The link was, I just didn't scroll down. There it was. Okay.
So, did you get my message? I think I have all of your photographs queued up
Yes.
in the order that you sent, which I think was the original order that they were. I already
Yeah.
had them. So,
There's a couple, I think at the end I switched
oh, okay.
just to have a more, I don't know, dynamic ending, but essentially it's the same. Yeah.
Okay. Let me just take a quick look here. What you have at the end here? I have 2, 3, 3, 4. And then 8298 you want after that. Okay, you want to skip the 8155 then?
Well, I'm not sure what you're looking at actually,
Oh,
but
okay. Here, I'll just share my screen with you and you
okay.
can see what I have here at the end. Let's see. So, let's see. This is go through to the end. This is the 8155, I think.
And it looks like I omitted it.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I don't know what happened. I didn't mean to. Maybe I
Oh,
was
that's okay.
switching order or something, but
Oh, okay. I think we're close enough.
we're close enough.
I found out from from doing this with when I found out from doing this with Rowan that I had that I had he was often surprised by what I was putting up on the screen. So I was trying
Uh,
not to do that with you, and so I was hoping to.
okay.
Let's see. So I like this one at the Capitol here. Which the one? Let's see.
Yeah.
I have to share my screen. This is the young man in a orange cutoff T-shirt with a black mask in front of the.
The tanks. Well, that would be Rowan.
That's what I thought. I thought
Yeah.
so. That would be a good place to start if that's okay.
That's what I intended to do. I
Oh,
don't.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, because you labeled that capital, so that was on the original file that you sent. I think I have the
Yes.
larger images here. Okay, so that would be a great place to start. I'm just going to make sure that this works the way that I'm hoping it will, so that I can advance these. Okay, and I'm going to put this on full screen. Okay, that should work then. Okay. So I do some editing at the end of all of this, uh, just to, if there are, what I'll probably do is put in um, a slideshow at the beginning of all the images, like 5 seconds each, and
Uh-huh.
then so people can see that we already put Rowan's interview up on the web, so that's
Oh,
already on the website, and
cool.
Michel Grossman, who I've been working with, he's really the main organizer of this. He's so moved by your images. When he saw the file that I sent to him, he it was in the middle of the night there. He texted me immediately and said, I have goosebumps. I have like, this is like, these are images that are really not seen in Germany. They get some of the more
Really?
Yeah, they get a lot more of the sensationalized images of the looting and the lots of pictures
Oh,
of lots of cops or people right up in the faces of police, the confrontational, the ones that have
they,
lots of drama and
yeah,
that can hook you in one direction or another. But they don't see a lot of some of the more nuanced, interesting, and more human images.
cool.
So that
Good.
they're really happy to see this. And
That's
the
exciting.
mine's I've been working with the people in the German left for many years, who are generally so much more knowledgeable about our political system and the conflicts and contradictions here than we are. It's really quite astonishing, actually. It's
Huh,
this how sophisticated their understanding of what's happening in the United States, and they're very the left is very tuned into the Black movement. They're very tuned into the Native American movement as well, and so the kinds of conversations I can have with people in Germany are often at a much higher level than most people I talk to in this country, which is really
yeah,
it's
interesting.
a shame, but that's so you anyway. You have an audience there of people who are going to really appreciate what you're bringing to this. So it's great.
That's great. Very good.
Um,
It
I'm
wouldn't,
gonna
and I
be
thank you for that because it wouldn't have happened. There's no other way, no other effort I would have thought to make to get the pictures out. So thank you so much.
Oh,
It's
of
a very
course.
big
My God.
deal.
Oh my God, this is great. Um, I'm still planning on a show at my college. It probably will be more towards January, February, and as a curator, I always bristle at this. It's like February is Black Month. It's just like March is Women's Month, and
Um,
October is Latino Month, and it's just the student services and everybody keeps scheduling stuff this way, and they often expect me to follow suit. Although in this case, because I want to show images from this point of view. I'm in a college that trains a lot of future cops of America, so um, I personally get a lot of pushback from the criminal justice people because of my background, and they've been trying to do what they can to sabotage my tenure there for a while. So when I do more controversial exhibitions, I try to do it in a strategic way where I have some backup, and
yes.
it's not just me out on Front Street. So there are a number of other events by other departments that are looking into the Black Lives Matter, demonstrations and social phenomena. And so I fall in with, four or five other organizations that are all asking the same questions in that period of time. So I wanted to show it. I was getting suggestions from my department chair that, given the way things are falling right now, that might not be the best time to do it in November or December, and that maybe it would work better in February. I thought it ended up being, good advice. So
Yeah, it's good.
yeah.
Spread the joy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. We will also have um, what Michelle has said is that they've already gotten a really wonderful response from the galleries that he works with and some of the book publishers that he's been talking to. So he really feels that the just this has been the loveliest group of people to work with, and it's a little unusual in the arts, where you get more a lot of solitary individuals with big egos or with
Uh-huh.
singular visions, and but this group has been um, just a joy to work with, and everybody has brought their very best work to the project, and it's just been coming together so beautifully. And the quality of everything that's been produced so far has really been
Wow, exciting.
stellar. So it's really exciting. I hope my son is finishing his music composition right now, which will be a lot of the stage event, and he's been working with the two music. There's a vocalist and a clarinetist that are performing with, and he's composed a lot of electronic music. It's a very sophisticated, really deeply philosophical piece about sort of the time we're living in with it's got multiple layers of virtual and sort of uncanny representations or mashups of other
Oh,
periods of music, and he's really playing with the whole idea of this kind of interaction like we're going through right now. What is real, what's virtual, how do they interlock, how do they interact, um and it's so the project, because of our circumstances, has taken on this whole other meta level that is at least it's interesting to me. I don't know how interesting it is
yep.
to maybe a general art public, but I find all this stuff really fascinating.
Good. Exciting.
So what I thought that the way we'll do this, I'll just sort of formally introduce you, and then I thought maybe you could then talk a little bit about, the circumstances under which you came to the George Floyd demonstrations, um, and then you can use the photographs as the vehicle for you saying you can talk about some of them in depth, or if you want to just move on, just give me like 5 seconds of silence and then I'll switch photographs. And
Okay. I'll probably, yeah, we'll see what happens. So,
yeah, see what happens. I can edit and splice, and I can
so
um
will this, is the visual going to be part of the slideshow or just audio?
what I'm going to do is probably just keep your images, and you'll be an audio
Okay.
thing.
So the lighting right now for our Zoom doesn't matter because you're not going to have me in the,
You'll be on in the introduction here, yeah, but
okay.
then after I switch the screen to the screen share, then you won't be seen. Neither one of us will be seen until I switch it
Okay.
back. Is that
So
okay?
does this look okay, the lighting?
Yeah, I think so. Um,
Okay.
Maybe you can shift your camera if you want to center
I
yourself a
think
little bit,
it's
and also you'll be it'll take that. There's a little bit of a hot spot it looks like to your right there.
it's over this way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just
Let me
maybe
switch
pull. You're
this.
on a laptop or
Actually,
you're using a DSLR?
I'm on a laptop.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Actually, get rid of that.
that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. That's actually a little better. What was happening was the Zoom, if it's on automatic, it will turn on and off its image enhancement, its lighting
Oh,
enhancement function, and that can be distracting. I was watching that on TV last couple night on the news, so it's a
okay.
little weird. So, you ready? Great.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Um, okay. Well, I'm here with Denice Breaux, and I am so happy that you've become a part of this project with us, with you and Rowan and Ray. We have some brilliant photographers, and you've produced some brilliant, beautiful images that are so moving and poignant, and I think give us a sense of what has been happening at the heart of these demonstrations around George Floyd and Black Lives Matter. And I'm grateful for you being a part of this, and thank you so much for being here with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I thought perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what brought you to these demonstrations and the circumstances of your involvement.
Yes. Well, I believe it was the day after um, George Floyd was murdered that my son Rowan let me know that something was happening. We weren't quite sure. He said, we only had a few sketchy details. He knew that there was going to be a group gathering at the intersection of 38th and Chicago. where where the incident occurred. But I wasn't sure. I was reluctant to go at first because I didn't know at all what kind of gathering this was going to be. I knew so little about, or we knew so little about what had happened, that I imagined it was a small, intimate family members, putting up bouquets and teddy bears, that kind of a thing, at a
Yeah.
memorial that, that I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't want to be part of that intimate thing because I didn't know the man, and so forth. But as more came to light about the situation, we learned more about it, and Rowan told me that it was important to him as a Black man that I go with him to this thing. So at that point, I said, absolutely, whatever it is, I'm in.
Mhm.
So that's how I came to go to it. Otherwise, I might just have stayed on the couch and not gone at all.
Yeah.
So
Now you're a professional photographer. This is what you do as a vocation, right?
it's one of the many hats that I wear.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that. I was someone
Yes.
who also shares many hats too. But I've seen your work is beautiful online, the dance images and things that you produced. So
Thank you.
what when you went to this gathering and then you brought your camera with you, right?
Actually, I didn't. I
Oh, okay.
because I was going to say I photographer is one of the hats I wear, but often I don't bother taking the big camera because it's cumbersome,
Mhm.
and a lot of times I'll miss what's happening if I'm
Mm, mhm,
behind the lens. So, and again, I didn't know that history was unfolding right down the street from me. So I did not bring my big camera.
mhm,
In fact, the first image that we are going to see, I believe, is with my cell phone.
mhm,
And uh, I think I went to two events to protest with just a cell phone, and then
mhm.
I realized I should be taking the big clunker or two with me. So uh, so I did not have my good cameras with me
Uh-huh.
for the first 2 days. Yeah.
The cell phone, I was talking with Rowan about this when I spoke with him the other day. I would nominate the inventor of the cell phone for a Nobel Peace Prize because I feel like as a human rights tool, it is really revolutionized or changed how particularly white people in the United States and Europe are finally seeing the reality inside the Black community vis-a-vis the confrontations and ongoing oppression through the police. And um,
Yes.
if
Mhm.
it provides this documentary evidence, which many people still don't believe, excuse me, but excuse me, but there are still a lot of folks who don't believe even what's put in front of them as visual evidence. But the
Mhm.
um, what an important tool that has been. Though even within the confines of using a cell phone camera, your images are just striking, and you obviously bring a photographer's eye even to the cell phone. Um, Why don't we start with those? I'll share my screen with you, and then perhaps then we can get a sense of, you can just sort of talk us through what you saw and share with us your experiences from behind the lens. Just give me 1 second here. I have a uh, air cleaner that just turned on. It's going to give me a lot of background noise. So that's always seems to be what happens whenever I do anything recording for the for the for my project. The other night I was doing an interview with somebody, and And my wife thought that that would be a brilliant time to start sanding the floor upstairs above my study, and it was like it was hilarious. She knew I was doing it, but then she forgot. You know,
Yes.
she gets a wild hair and decided
Yeah.
it was time to take the sander out and start belt sanding the floor. It's like-
Hello.
not only was there a noise, but like there's sawdust like coming down. That's how it was. It was really great.
Real
I'll save
life.
that. I'll save that for bloopers and outtakes, I think.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen here and let's see what we can. Just take me a second here, and I'm gonna then. Okay, so you're able to see what I see here.
Yes, I am.
So that's your son, no?
That's my son Rowan. So this was taken with the cell phone at the Capitol building in St. Paul. Yes, St. Paul. Sorry, I haven't lived here very long, and I live in St. Paul, but it's very strange to live 4 miles from a state capital. um, since I'm from the rural parts of California. Anyway, so this was early on, um, early on in the summer. I think it was day 3 or something, and um, I just happened to catch them all like this. This was at Governor Walz's mansion. Um, Again, early on. I don't recall her name right away, but she is an attorney, and um, I was behind the camera.
How do you think of yourself in these moments as a um, you're both participating as an activist and as a person who is, you know, a part of this incredible
Yes.
outpouring. But
Well,
then, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I would say that I am a photographer first, I guess I would say, or my impulse was to grab the camera and record what was happening more than I'm an activist. What can I do? I'll use my camera, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And being behind the lens, I have to say I am not present with what's
Uh-huh.
happening.
Uh-huh.
And when I look at photos, I see so much, when I look at the photographs later in the day or whatever, when I'm going over what I shot, it's like the first time I'm seeing it.
Hmm.
Uh, so I guess in a way, my eye is on automatic, or maybe not automatic, but trained just um, to grab what's there visually. And since I'm in this milieu of this protest, I know that whatever I grab visually will reflect what's happening,
Hmm.
even though I may not be totally in the moment when
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Yeah.
The cell phone camera has, I think it both provides this documentary evidence, but in another way, there is this strange sort of meta phenomenon of people are at simultaneously making history and recording history at the same time. You know, there's this it's this sort of strange phenomenon, like you were just talking about, that you're kind of in it but not of it in a certain way. Once the cell phones, as we can see, several of them are out. There's the photographer that's, you know, in the background there, but you can see multiple cell phones
Oh, yes.
in the scene, which is sort of the way that things happen these days. It's a little
Yes.
strange, actually.
Well, I find it artistically not so pleasing to have
Mm.
a bunch of cell phones in the photograph.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although it's ironic, or because we wouldn't have any of this if it weren't for cell phones.
Right, right.
Sometimes I wish I could just say, cell phones down for a few seconds so I can get my shot.
Uh-huh.
I find I also find plastic water bottles, they're ubiquitous, and to
Uh-huh.
me, they ruin many a shot artistically, but it's it's what it is. It's
Mm,
reality. The cell phones
right,
and the plastic water bottles.
right, right. This is
There's the
there's your
plastic water
water
bottle.
bottle, but it's actually quite beautiful in this context somehow. And
Yes, I don't mind it so much in this. And I just, again, when I looked at my pictures for the first time after the day of shooting, I was surprised to see this.
mm,
I didn't really know I was shooting this when I shot it.
mm,
The way the light, she's holding the poster
mm-hmm.
backwards to us. So
Uh-huh.
that's the light coming through.
Oh, it's just
You can see
beautiful.
part of the light on her hat. So it's sort of like this
Uh-huh.
glow. Yeah.
It just adds this ethereal, otherworldly,
Yes.
spiritual element to it.
Well, it says it all right there,
Mm,
what that's about. But again, I saw these two heads together. I believe one is black, one is white, or one is white, one is black. And um, so I thought black and white for this image was called
mm,
for.
uh-huh.
I love this sign and looks like a white fellow holding it up. And I noticed more when I was looking at the pictures in review. I noticed that there were a lot more white people than black in a lot of these pictures, but I hadn't noticed the preponderance of white people at the time. Again, a lot of stuff I don't see till I'm looking at the
Mm.
pictures.
Yeah, I
But
talked about this with Rowan a little bit. Having done anti-police and anti-police murder um, organizing going back to 1977. Back in those days, this kind of scene after an event like the murder of George Floyd would have I couldn't have conceived of such a thing being possible. You could fit all the white people in 1977 who were doing work against police murder. You could fit them all in one room, and
yeah,
it's a striking social change afoot where young white people are becoming conscious of what is happening, what the reality is in the black community, and it's promising, I think.
yes, it is. And this was again at the governor's mansion.
Mm,
And now I recall that the group was calling for him to come out
hmm
of his house, of the mansion. And I believe now, as we're speaking about it, I recall that he did come out with his little entourage, but the group wanted him to answer some questions.
hmm
And there were questions that he would not answer. So he actually went, his intention was to come out and speak, but the group wanted him to speak to certain things.
hmm
And so he actually never spoke and retreated back into the mansion shortly after he came out. So this was a crowd. Just here we go, the crowd in the street outside the governor's
mm.
mansion. There's all our cell phones. There's some of the cell phones, and that's the marijuana liberation flag. Um, yeah, quite a crowd there.
Yeah, that's a really quite a crowd. How many days deep into the demonstrations is this, do you think, is
This
roughly?
is still only maybe day 4, maybe.
Uh-huh.
I guess a timestamp would tell, but
Right.
um, early on, the first week,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this might have been June 4.
Oops.
Now we're, yes, we're still at the governor's mansion. What does her sign say? It's not black versus white. It's,
It's like
well, I can't see it.
everyone versus or every something.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just liked the juxtaposition of all this.
Uh-huh. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you. Now we're to, I believe this is the day that the first big, that the George Floyd memorial in his hometown took place. And so there were different simultaneous events happening locally.
Uh-huh.
And so this is the day of that here in, again, this is at the intersection outside of Cup Foods where the murder took place. So this was more, there was a lot more joy now,
Mm.
even a few days into it. And this was sort of a street fair. There were lots
Uh-huh.
of, not vendors, but during the past few days leading up to this, there were lots of stations set up all over the city where people could get all kinds of supplies, um, food, um, sundries, baby supplies, diapers, water. Uh,
Interesting.
yes, there was barbecues going. It was free food. It was a street party celebrating the life and of George Floyd, but also celebrating this big explosion that happened just in
Mm.
a matter of days.
It's something that you don't hear about, or we didn't hear about that back east, unless we were talking to people like you. That was certainly not the portrayal of those events when it was taking place.
Yes, so it was so uplifting. And there were water stations with all these nozzles with water so people could fill their water bottles, and because it was pretty hot
Mm.
in June.
Yeah.
So look at her face. I mean, she's joy.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
This woman was part of the crowd watching what was going on stage. There were speakers up on stage. Again, this is still the day of the first memorial, I guess we could say. And she was bearing witness there in the crowd and physically bearing witness. She was twirling and spinning, very physically emotional, and was invited up on the stage
Mm.
to share her outpouring.
Huh.
Yeah. I noticed too, there are lots of hands up in praise.
Uh-huh.
So she had her cell phone. Let's get used to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is her background is part of the Cup Market building.
I
Says
just love
he,
the spark in the background as
yes,
as a text piece this has so many different layers to it. It's
it says heat and spark is
Oh,
what,
it says heat. Okay,
yeah.
heat spark. Wow, that's so cool. And the cell phone here, again, I know as a thing in the images, I could certainly understand from the aesthetic point of view. It's like, put the damn thing down, and but and anybody who's been to a concert has had that experience. You gonna listen or you gonna record? What are you
Yeah.
doing? It's just be here. But at the same time, I think it does reflect the consciousness that we're making history here, and it's another, I think it's another symbol of bearing witness, and that we're not going away, and that the whole world is watching
Yeah.
and recording what's taking place, what's happening here.
And I think visually it works in this case.
Hmm.
I don't know, it lines up with everything. And
Hmm.
I think she's got it facing toward herself.
Hmm.
So
Yes, yes.
she's bearing her own witness.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
A
She's
different
getting
kind
the
of
crowd in the
self-portrait.
background.
Mm, mm. Oh, right. Which then she's maybe sending out to her own media feed or to
Yeah.
record for later to share.
It was hard to pick um, from the pictures I took of her. She was
Uh-huh.
also very, very colorful, beautiful
Yes.
image
Yes.
and moved a lot. Yeah.
Right.
I This is a brooding. I like the brooding.
Mm.
Even though this is still at the celebration, the speakers up on stage, I guess we can, these images of the crowd reflect maybe at
Hmm.
what points are being touched on by the speakers. This is outside the market.
And everybody is just about everybody here is masked and,
Pretty much.
you know,
It
taking
was,
responsibility for themselves and everyone around them.
it was before the mask debate even was very heated.
Mm.
Um, yeah, masked up.
This is a gorgeous image. This is just really beautiful. I love the choice of black and white in this also.
Thank you. It goes with the broodingness, I think.
Mm, yes.
I love black and white. I just like all the elements.
Hmm.
I don't have much to say about it. It says it all. This was this young man's nephew. I chatted with him for a few minutes. He was his sister's. That you can kind of see there's the food thing going on in the background, and his
Uh-huh.
sister was part of that, and so he was helping out by minding his nephew. The gentleman on the right, the white fella, he was so earnest. I watched him for a bit throughout the day, through these moments, and I was just so moved by his earnestness. He
Mm,
was serious about this.
hmm.
Yeah. His shirt says, "I'm not black, but I see you, I hear you, I value you."
Mm. There's a difference in these two images from, there's a tendency, I think sometimes to sort of look for those moments of white and black unity, and can be turned into like political pablum. It can be, it's like, oh,
Oh,
here's our kumbaya moment, and
yeah.
it's all gonna be okay, and here we
Yeah.
are all together, and we're all in this together. But that's really not what is being shown in these two images for me. I don't think I'm just reading into it. What I see are people struggling with how to be allies, how to be participants in a social transformation that puts the value of Black lives, at the center and of that change. And that's a much different thing of just, let's all just hold hands and make everything better. And and I think what I get in this image is from the expression on the African American gentleman's face. This isn't like a kumbaya moment. This is like, there's something else going on here that I think is deeper than that, and is a recognition of Black leadership in this. And I really appreciate your having gotten that in this.
Yes, this fellow he was actually crying.
Mm,
This was very moving, I thought, because
mm,
you can see they've broken
mm,
the
Mm,
social distancing thing, but
mm,
it had to happen.
mm.
So we see up on stage, actually might be the woman who was dancing so emotionally, and I just loved these white girls. There were a lot of young white women
Mm.
um, at 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 these protests. Their fists are up in solidarity.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very moving, very hopeful. And again, who'd have thunk?
I really, I really, I know. It's, it's, I try to explain my feelings about this to folks because I couldn't have conceived of it. It was the same part of me that couldn't have imagined Barack Obama being elected president in this United States of America. But it's also, or having seen Nelson Mandela walk out of prison in South Africa, there's this um, breaking with the sort of race solidarity of white America here, with white young people, that is indicative of, I think, some really important social transformations going on.
Yes, and it's a good lesson for me in you can't judge a book by its cover. If I
Mm,
saw these people walking around the Walmart, let's say,
mm,
or
mm-hmm.
just anywhere, I would not have put them here. I may have
Uh-huh.
stereotyped them.
Uh-huh.
So it's a good lesson. Here they
Yes.
are, and the her face, the look on her face, you can't fake that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lucky shot.
Mm.
So this, I believe, we're moving, excuse me, to Juneteenth. So this is a local Juneteenth celebration. So let's see, by June 19th, several weeks had passed, maybe 3 weeks since George Floyd's murder. You can see this, well, plus it was Juneteenth, a day of celebrating
Mm-hmm.
or recognizing the celebratory part of it too. But you can see spirits have lifted. Uh,
Yes.
and yes, so this was on our way to the Juneteenth celebration on June 19th.
Which, for those who don't know the significance of Juneteenth or June 19th, was in recognition of the date when enslaved Africans finally learned that they had been freed and that the Civil War had been resolved in the favor of the North and that of the Union, and that um, African Americans, that black people were now freed and that slavery had been abolished. And that was it didn't get to get to Texas, in which this celebration commemorates. It didn't get there until about a year after the fact. And it was June 19th that celebrates the day when people learned of their freedom.
Lots of families at this event.
Yeah, again, that's not what you would gotten from the media portrayals of any of these demonstrations. It was these are not the images that you customarily would see. I love this shot. I love this.
They were watching on stage. There was some musicians. There was some music happening. So
Mm.
these fellas, you can sort of see that in the background.
Mm.
Yeah. So they were grooving. I think these images with the names are very important. And again, this was sort of actually, this is going back to the memorial celebration, so kind of early on. And I know that as time went on, many streets, what, in New York, Washington, D.C., there's the names on the streets.
Hmm.
That's a lot of names.
Yes, it's a lot of names.
So we have lots of action going, lots of stuff to see in the background. We have a fine art center, the Heat Spark
Uh-huh.
sign again. Yeah, it's a cut market.
Some BLM tags up on the brick.
BLM tags, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of white folks.
Yeah. And
Very good. And it was a hot day.
yeah.
Good on them. This is one when I looked at the pictures, I was so happy to see that I caught the black eye love
Yeah.
sign. I had
Yeah.
no idea that
I
I was
just
doing
saw
that.
that. I just
Yeah.
noticed that. There's
Yeah.
so many textual coincidences, serendipity that come into these images that and I think that is the conclusion of these images here. So are there what is your takeaway as a person from this? I know that your son has been intimately and deeply involved in this, and your niece Ray as well. Is there can you talk a little bit about your family's involvement?
Well, I think it might have kind of taken Rowan by surprise, maybe, or he doesn't take um, a lot of pictures. I mean, he's not a uh, what can I say? I think it was very I don't know, lucky that I'm so happy that he was moved enough to take these pictures.
Mm.
It's not his thing necessarily.
Hmm.
He uses his phone the way kids use their phone. He
Sure,
takes
sure.
pictures, but I don't think he'd ever consider himself a photographer. Although in hindsight, he did have a few. Yeah, I think we did some 4-H photography stuff, and he's got a great eye. He
He
just didn't
does.
really
He
he
really
didn't keep it
does.
up. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so I'm really glad he was moved enough to pick the camera up again,
Mm.
or the phone camera, whatever he was using. So, and he several years up until, well, a few years ago, he was a pretty conservative kid.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm really glad he got woke, let's say, and he's yeah. So
Hmm.
I'm happy to see that and it's sort of very serendipitous that we were both living here, because
Mm.
it was odd. It was odd to find ourselves here, and it was temporary for both of us. Although we didn't know we didn't know how long we'd be here. We were here sort of independently, and um, but once all this happened, I, for one, speaking for myself, thought, yeah, okay, this is why I was put here,
Mm.
was to, this is really lucky. I mean, lucky might not be the right word, but since this history was unfolding, I felt like it was very fortuitous for Rowan and I for Rowan and me to both be here. Um, Pretty amazing in the whole world, in the whole history of everything. We were here right now in this place. So And then Ray, my niece Ray, who is, I would say, the three of us definitely the more aware and active
Mhm.
politically and socially. She also has a great eye, has been taking pictures for forever, and was out there in the thick of it with that baby strapped on her back. So her partner got some great images of that. So she's no surprise that she's involved in all this. And again, she happens to be in one of the hot spots, I guess.
Mm.
And yeah, we have a big family. So some of us with cameras were in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
have another niece and nephew in the LA area that also, I believe, jumped into the fray at some point with their cameras.
really. Oh, you're holding out on me. There's more, there are
Yeah,
more
actually,
bro images to be shared.
yeah. Well, they didn't respond to my. I put some feelers out earlier
Uh,
on without running it by you, but they didn't
that's
respond.
okay.
So I thought that's three bros is enough,
Oh, well, it
more than
was,
enough for some people. So.
uh-huh.
So
I think it's been just enough.
I'm so thrilled that my kids, meaning my beloved niece and my son, one of my two beloved sons, um, are involved in this. It's super cool to be doing it as, mom and auntie.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Well, in the project I'm working on in Munich, it's having brought in my son to as a
Mm,
composer to work on this. I completely share that
yeah.
that sense of okay, all right, the future is in good hands. It's in maybe better hands, and they get what we've been through, and they get what's going on, and are taking it on with a lot of heart and soul, and it really is encouraging. It's very proud, as I know that you must be.
Yeah. I'm proud of the kids.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for your time to do this with us, and I'm particularly grateful for your images and your artistry and in documenting this. And thank you.
Well, I am so grateful and really honored that I'm part of this. I had no idea. I was, riveted like many people were by the amazing images that were coming at us,
Mhm.
hourly from the big news feeds. And I wish that I could have been part of that to disseminate my images, if you will, but
Mhm.
that didn't happen. So I'm very, very grateful that it's happening this way
Yeah,
and to a better end, probably.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I think this is going to reach and move a lot of people.
Thank you for the opportunity. I
Sure.
can't wait to see what's cooking.
Me too. All right, great, great. I think that was, I hope that wasn't too painful.
No, it was fine, and I got the kitty
Good.
on my lap now. But
Ah.
we're off camp. Well, I did. If there's two images, I know what I did in the newer email that
Oh,
I
okay.
had done some editing in two of the images,
Oh, okay.
but it's
I can
okay to
pull them
let them
up
go.
if you like. If you want me to pull them up, I can splice the edited images in if you
That
want.
would be great. If
Sure,
there,
let me find them here.
I removed some poles
Oh, okay. Let me
or
see.
some wires. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see what I can find here. I had closed out a lot of windows to make sure that when I
Oh,
did my
yes.
screen share, so my screen share was clean. So I'll just have to download.
Or I could just resend you the two.
I think I know which ones they are because they had, uh,
Extra number.
yeah, yeah. So I'll just download those and oh, it's not letting me access them because I think it's a
Oh, it's not an editable thing?
Yeah, it's not a
Oh,
it's not a shared folder. Let me see if I can give me one more chance here. Yeah, I have to. Oh, I know why. It's because the way my Google account is structured, I can't get into that. Let me see here. Let me try again. Okay. I think you should be getting an email asking for access.
okay. Okay, I
Or
see.
what you could do, what might be easier is if you can pull it up on your laptop and share the image. Um,
Well, do you want me just to email you the two images?
yeah, why don't, yeah, just, yeah, that's probably better. Yeah.
And then I think can
Right.
you slip them in if I
Yes.
just send
Yeah.
them as an email
Yeah,
attachment?
that makes more sense. Yeah, just email those to me.
Okay,
Yeah, you can do that, and I'll just switch those out
great.
I'll just splice those in then.
Good, thank
Yeah,
you.
that's easy. That's easy. All right, great. So, what are you up for the rest of the day? What's the rest of your day look like?
Well, I started this new photography gig working for this company out of New York, actually, that um, it's sort of like pop-up photography. So the photographers go to these locations in the cities where the company is operating, and we go to these locations for the day, and we do these 30 clients have signed up for 30-minute photo sessions.
Oh, okay.
So yesterday I did such an event, and so today I'm spending editing the photos and
Mhm.
creating the galleries for the clients.
Oh, great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah,
Great. Well, thank you so much, Denise. So this is great. You'll
thank
see
you.
if you go to the Fire 1000 Poems website, you'll see that Michelle has put up galleries of your work. I think he's got 8 images for each of you up as postcards.
Cool.
So I think he chose 8 rather than 5 because it's the way that it fits on the paper for when it gets produced. But those are being produced right now, and I think he's waiting. No, I have to go back and reread. He's producing large scale prints for the lobby of the theater.
Okay.
And the other thing he told me was that based on the response from his galleries that he works with, which includes one which, if this had happened in Germany, Yoko Ono would have been involved and would have been there personally, but
Yes.
because of the COVID, that wasn't going to happen. But there are other galleries and theaters in Europe that we will likely be able to bring this to. Probably in Europe, it was more receptive to this than the United States, which is, it's interesting, but probably true. But we're looking for venues in the United States as well. So if you know of any places in your area or your places you've been before that that are open to more avant-garde sort of fluxus style events, it can be as short as one night, but we can do things over the course of several days as well, just like we're doing in Germany. So
Live shows or virtual shows or everything.
it's both. It's all we were trying to do live. We'll try to do
Yeah.
it live, but
Okay.
we can also present virtual work as well. So yeah.
And I think I might have mentioned it to you earlier, but if any of the images, when he gets to printing them big, aren't big
Oh, okay.
enough, I
They're
think
too small.
yeah, I know I took them all. Originally, they're very big, and I
Yeah.
still have the originals. So
Okay. I'll
I
tell
think
Michelle. Yeah.
sometimes in the exporting or
Right. The
uploading
compression. Yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
small one, yeah.
Sure, sure.
So
I'll tell him that you have larger files from
the
him.
originals are large raw files. I shoot in raw.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
yeah.
Great.
Okay, so I will send you those two images, and
Okay.
we're square, I guess, for
Great.
now.
We good. Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad this has been great. I'm
I know
grateful to
I
Pamela
keep
for introducing us.
I know I was gonna say I keep forgetting to remembering it's Auntie Pamela's gig. So thank you, Auntie.
Okay, great.
All right, Tim.
Have a wonderful day. Take
You
care.
too.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.